Hey guys, what is happening? Welcome back to the DrCliffAuD vlog. This is vlog number 74. And before I get kicked off on this vlog, if you could do me a huge favor and click that like button, it really helps this video get shared more often by YouTube and it helps me reach a broader audience. So if you could do that for me really quick, I would greatly appreciate it. That being said, this is technically my vlog video that is done after Memorial Day. So my last vlog, vlog number 73, came out on Sunday. I mean, all my vlogs usually come out on Sundays. And so I didn't have a chance to mention how much I appreciate all of the fallen men and women who served our country. I am a military member myself, and some of you who've seen kind of like my walkthrough videos in my clinic know that I have an American flag in my office, and that is there to specifically remind me of the people who did not come back home with us. And it gives me a little bit of context every day in terms of if I'm having a bad day, all you have to do is look over at that flag and realize that your day is not really going that bad. So again, a huge shout out really to all of our service members who are serving and putting their lives in danger, and then especially to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. So I just wanted to make sure that I said that. It's something that's definitely near and dear to my heart. So there we go. And then the other thing that I really want to talk today about is the fact that we actually have a student in our clinic now. So just to kind of give you an understanding of how this works in audiology, all audiologists go through their undergraduate programs, and then they apply, they graduate, they apply to different graduate schools, and they have to do another 4 years in graduate school to get their doctorate in audiology. And this is a clinical doctorate, so they're not like medical doctors. We're not medical doctors. We're not research audiologists. We are clinical audiologists, meaning that we are getting this doctoral degree specifically to go in and treat patients. And the last year of this 4-year doctoral program is typically considered an externship. Now, just to rewind a second here, there are a few programs out there that are condensed programs where you spend 2 years at the inside of that graduate program, and then your 3rd year is your externship. But in the case of for me, and in the case for this student that we just brought on, it was a 4th year audiology externship. And this particular student just started with us about 2 weeks ago now. She's been with us for 2 weeks. And I kind of want to get into the aspect of why I actually decided to bring on a student. Well, first and foremost, I decided to bring on a student this year in particular in the midst of all of this craziness with moving to a new clinic and with COVID going on and all of that stuff, because I felt like I needed to contribute to some degree because they were significantly shortchanged during their 2nd and 3rd year because of COVID. I mean, they hardly had any opportunities to go to external rotations throughout the first 3 years of their program. And so and there was a lot of externships that were not accepting 4th year students this year, and I wanted to basically help with that a little bit. So I had a discussion with Ashley. This was, I would say, at the end of last year, close to maybe October, November, and we decided, you know what, I think we think it's probably a good idea to bring in a student as a 4th year extern in our clinic and provide them with what we believe will be a valuable experience before they graduate with their doctoral degree. So here the 2 weeks ago is when we first brought the student in, and really the first couple of weeks has been more of kind of gauging where this individual is at, seeing how much experience that she has, and to be quite honest with you, I feel bad in a sense that the training and education that she's received thus far, and she went to a fantastic program, but COVID has really decimated the amount of experience that she should have at this point. And part of me is kind of like, boy, this is going to take a lot more work than what I expected. And then the other part of me is kind of like, you know what? at least I feel like she's going to be getting a fantastic education at our clinic, meaning I don't know if I'm a good preceptor, and that's what we call ourselves, those who kind of train students along the way or as preceptors. And I don't know if I'm a good one. I mean, I spent a little time precepting right when I graduated from my doctoral program in 2016. I spent like maybe, I don't know, 6 months providing some very indirect preceptorship at that time. But the question becomes is, what am I going to learn from this too? I don't think that it's just a learning experience for a student. And in fact, when you really want to learn something, try to teach someone something, right? I mean, that's kind of what this is all about here as well. So the student's going to be learning stuff from me. I'm going to be learning stuff from the student. I'm going to be forced to learn how to better interact, how to better educate, just how to be a better clinician myself in order to make sure that this student comes out of this year-long externship significantly further ahead than where she would have been otherwise. And the thing that I really take pride in is that in my clinic, in our clinic, I really try to uphold a really high standard. All of you who've been watching my channel for the past couple of years, who've been watching my vlogs, like, you know my mentality when it comes down to the quality of care that we try to provide. And the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of clinics out there, both from a rotation standpoint and from an externship standpoint, that just don't follow best practices, and they treat an externship like a cheap form of labor. And that is not how I want to treat it inside of my clinic. I want to treat this as an opportunity to have this student learn a ton of information, make me better by having to teach and make sure that I'm articulating things in a way that can be understood. Different people have different learning styles, so I have to be able to kind of augment and change the way that I present information with this. But there's a really high standard to uphold inside of my clinic, and I have to get this particular student up to speed and try to get them up to speed as fast as humanly possible, because at the end of the day, she's there to contribute and learn how to be an independent clinician in a lot of ways. And I take that as a huge challenge. And so right now I'm actually thinking of different things that we need to be doing to do our job better. And I think that the first thing that we need to do inside of the clinic is to really establish these personality traits. And there's a variety of different questionnaires and things like that people can do to identify what type of personality does someone have, and then how do they best learn, and how do they best apply their own value to a particular clinic or situation. And that way, that can help me better understand how I need to communicate with this particular individual, and not just this individual, but the rest of my staff as well. My staff oftentimes looks to me for answers, which makes sense. I mean, I own the clinic, and they want to make sure that they're doing things in a way that is best for patients and basically is following the vision that I have for the clinic. But there are a lot of challenges when you're trying to make sure that the clinic is running smoothly at a really high level, and you're also trying to take time to teach someone how to do something and let them kind of make their own mistakes, but be there to kind of catch their mistakes and provide corrective action on that. And it's just a really different dynamic. But when you look at a hospital perspective, some of the best hospitals in the world are teaching hospitals. Okay, so you have these resident physicians who are coming in out of med school, and they are going to these really prestigious university clinics. And in those university clinics, they are working very closely with the physicians who have a ton of experience. And the job of those physicians is to make sure that these young physicians come in and learn as much as they possibly can, because those residencies only last for a certain period of time. And by the time you're done with your residency, you are basically independent, to a large degree as a physician. And I think of our clinic as at least striving to be one of those premier top tier clinics that someone could go to, because they know that when they come to our clinic that they're going to learn a ton. And even if they choose not to stay with us, even if we can't keep them on after their externship is over, I want a student, or I want that graduating audiologist to be able to go anywhere and be able to handle and tackle basically anything. And really, I see this as an opportunity for us to advance best practice, the use of best practices inside of the profession. I mean, to really inundate a student on the importance of following best practices and how to actually follow those best practices, then if they end up going somewhere else, they're going to walk into a clinic situation where most likely, because the vast majority of clinics do not follow comprehensive best practices, but there's a higher likelihood that that clinic will start following more best practices if a student or if a graduating audiologist goes there and has an ability to kind of articulate the importance of performing certain procedures and measures and things like that. So this is a really, really pivotal year. I'm hoping that it goes well. I'm hoping that I'm up to the task. I already know that I'm going to be spending more time in the clinic, just going in, taking time away from, other things that I do to go into the clinic to make sure that this individual is getting the attention that they need to learn the things that they need to learn in a relatively short amount of time. Because the way I see it is that for a year or year and a half, these students who are in their fourth year externships right now received little to no hands-on training and who knows how much actual education from a remote perspective. But we've got to get, I'm thinking, 2.5 years worth of training done in 1 year of on-the-job training. And so it's a really tall order. I know that I'm up to the task. I wouldn't have accepted a fourth year student if I didn't want to commit a significant amount of energy to training a fourth year student. And who knows? This individual could become a significant contributor to the staff, and we would potentially want to keep this individual on after graduation. And if that was the case, that would be fantastic, because they would be perfectly inundated with how we do things in the clinic, with the standard of care that we are setting out to achieve. And who knows, it might turn into something to where we consistently have a fourth year extern, but we have a couple of really good audiology programs here just in the Phoenix area. We have Arizona State University and we have AT Still. And depending on how far not Arizona State, but University of Arizona students are willing to travel, we potentially might be bringing on some University of Arizona students as well. Now, I know there's a huge competitive side between U of A and ASU, whatever, I don't care. I went to University of Illinois, what do I care? That being said though, there are rotations that happen outside of fourth year externship. Like I mentioned before, most audiology programs, they will have usually the first year of the graduate program, you'll spend inside of the audiology clinic of the university. And then year two, you go to a couple, maybe 2 to 3 different external placement sites that offer a variety of different types of services like pediatric care, cochlear implants, surgical rotations, hearing aids, private hearing aid clinics, hospitals, whatever the case may be. And you go and you sample, basically. You learn from all of these different types of audiology that's being performed. The scope of practice for audiology is absolutely huge, and we just kind of pigeonhole into we just want to be the best hearing aid clinic for audiology that's out there. That's our goal. What I'm saying here is that these students who go to these programs, we potentially might be bringing on a second year student for a semester rotation or a third year student for a semester rotation to kind of get them somewhat inundated and get them some hands-on experience for if they go to, a different clinic for their fourth year externship. But I have to say, so far, so good. There is definitely a lot of catching up that we have to do. I'm starting to think of different projects that this particular student can do to make sure that she comes out of this not just better and smarter and a better ability to apply fundamentals and best practices with patients, but also getting to the point where she's seeking knowledge on her own, which is something I'm huge on, right? I mean, I spend almost every weekend of my life since I graduated trying to learn as much as I can about audiology, about broad scope audiology, about narrow, scope on hearing aids in audiology. But, the way I see it is that if I ever stop learning or stop trying to learn new things in this profession, then I should just get out of this profession, because you're no longer a professional. Being a professional means is that you don't just go to work 9 to 5. You go to work 9 to 5, and then when you're done with work, you're still working on personal development to get better at what you do. And to be honest with you, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. I don't know how many hours there are in a week. I could calculate it out right now, but I know that there's significantly more hours in a week than what you spend at work. And I understand that there has to be some kind of work-life balance, but if you think that you're going to progress in this profession and be an actual professional by only committing 40 hours a week, you have got another thing coming. I don't know anyone who can actually get significantly better at what they do by applying the bare minimum of effort by just going to work and going through their standard processes and not trying to think at a higher level and trying to obtain as much information as humanly possible about their craft. I think Malcolm Gladwell wrote a book, something like 10,000 hours to become an expert in something. The book might be called 10,000 hours, I'm not really sure. But the whole premise of that book is that if you do something for 10,000 hours, it will make you an expert in that particular area. So the more that you can learn, the quicker you're going to get there. Like the more time that you commit to learning, the quicker you're going to achieve being an expert in your particular field. Now, I've heard other, books and people saying like you don't need to contribute a full 10,000 hours. You need to contribute very dedicated amount of time, and it shouldn't even take you up to 10,000 hours. So I'm just kind of using that as a general reference here, but the point still stays the same. You've got to contribute a lot of focused time, attention, and energy on what you want to achieve. And that is something that I want, if nothing else. If I do a bad job of being a preceptor and I am not able to help the training and education of this particular student going through our clinic for her 4th year rotation, I want her to come away from it really seeking knowledge from now into the long term throughout the entire course of her career. Because when you really think about it, there's a good 30, maybe 30 plus years that she's going to be in this profession after she graduates from her program. And I want her to really be set up for success in the long term. This is probably not the last time that you'll hear me talking about being a preceptor. I'm sure I will share mistakes that I've made along the way, things that I wish I would have done differently. That's just all a part of it. I really appreciate you guys hearing me kind of ramble about us having a student on board. I'm really excited about it. If you liked the video, go ahead and give that a thumbs up. If you haven't given it a thumbs up already, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And as always, I'll see you next week.